Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soul Speak. I'm Talya Pardo. I'm book editor and publisher and soul coach and life mentor. And it is my great pleasure today to have my guest, Tamar Field-Gersh here. She's a life and business coach. We've been slowly getting to know each other over the last few months. And I think everything I see from you, I'm so excited. I love talking to you. We had a short 20-minute live interview that we did a few weeks ago, and I so enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to this conversation too. Your energy is so light and bubbly, and that you have this way of addressing things very directly without it being too heavy. So I give
Thank
you
you.
a lot of credit for that. It's really, speaks to me. So please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell us a little bit about you and also how you got into or why you got into life and business coaching.
Yeah. I will tell you, I'm so excited to be back here. Yes, we have had short little tidbits of conversation, so it's so fun to have a longer one today. Okay, so basically, it's a little bit about me, I guess, is that I am a mama of four very cool kids who happen to be home right now. So hopefully you won't hear them in the background, though you might. And so if you're hearing something,
That's
that's what's going
okay.
on. I've got a son who's like pumping some iron. So I live in Pardo, Israel, which is just on the coast. I'm about 9 minutes away from the most stunning beaches,
Mhm.
I think, in the world, personally. And I take advantage of it daily, usually, which is amazing, which has been, especially, now has been my saving grace. I am a life and business coach, though I oftentimes like don't describe myself like that because it's like, oftentimes with coaches, I think especially it's like, I'm a coach for,
Yeah.
moms with three kids who like want to stop screaming and want to start kissing more or something like that. In fact, actually, I've heard of a coach who is a successful coach who coaches people who want to have Barbie birthday parties, like who make those cakes. There's like a big thing about
Right.
like making cake. Anyway, there's like people
Really
get very specific.
specific. Yeah, that's very small niche.
Yes, it's a very small niche, but this woman is insanely successful because apparently a lot of people want to have those kind of parties. They're
Okay.
maybe they're called princess parties, not Barbie parties, princess
Okay.
parties.
Good. This sure.
Um, which was that was fascinating. But anyway, I like to describe myself as kind of the Elizabeth Gilbert
Mhm.
of business building. And so for those who don't know Elizabeth Gilbert, you should check her out. But what that basically means is that I am a business coach who I'm a masquerading as a business coach and truly a self-love and self-trust coach, because I really use the entrepreneurship journey as a way for my clients to really have this profound and new intimate relationship with themselves, and to really come back to themselves and really feel like the truest of themselves. And I think that honestly, I think that every journey can do that. The weight loss health journey could do that. Motherhood can do that sometimes. Sometimes you go the opposite way, right? But for me, that's how I kind of came back to myself. And it has been life changing. And therefore, it's been, I coach other coaches, creatives, and healers into building, businesses that they never thought could build before, while having the time of their lives and just really getting to know themselves, step by step in every part of the process. So that's what I do, and I love it. And I have the most brilliant clients, and we just have a lot of fun together building businesses, and so it's great. So that's
Oh,
me.
you get to deal with people who have a similar mindset, right? In terms of what they want from their lives, and they're driven to similar things, and they're driven to discover themselves through their business. And I love what you said
Well,
because
some I will say though, a lot of times
Mhm.
they don't come to they a lot of times
They
they
don't
want to know how to
realize.
build a
Yeah,
business, right? Because
yeah.
most of us are like, I know how to do my craft really well. I'm an amazing fashion designer. I'm an incredible photographer. I'm da, 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 right? But then our humanness and our human brains keep us from actually building the business because there's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't think I know how to do that. I da, 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 da. So they come to me for that. They come to me from the like, I'm not sure, right? And they come to me so I can help them, bring them to, and which I do, to like, I got this. I've got this business part. I can do this business part as well as I can do my craft that I'm like obsessed with. And in that process, then it's like they're like, whoa, like holy moly, I've got this like new profound self-trust that I never had before. And so it's kind of like a sneaky thing, but
Yeah, you almost don't
that's
realize that's what you need. And I'll tell you, that's really been my experience. I started my business 2 years ago, and I work with an amazing business coach. And she's also like a soul coach, business coach, because on this journey with her, it's not just been about learning strategy and skills, which you do need. There's no question you need that for
yeah,
business. But
yeah.
it has also been a journey for learning about those limiting beliefs that I've had and had to face and learn to work through in order to keep moving myself forward. So,
Totally. Yeah. I think I just had shared a post about like just normalizing that business building and to make significant money takes time. Because I think in the
yeah,
world
I
that we live
totally.
in,
Yeah.
it's like these like, just follow these three simple steps and you're gonna make, your first 100K in less than 2 months and all these kinds of things that we hear. And of course we're like all about it. Who
Sure.
doesn't want to make your first 100K in 2 months? But the bottom line is that it takes time because it's not just about the strategies, which is significant. It's
Yeah.
about the strategies, but it's about the personal growth. And it's about, undoing old patterns that like have not worked for you and are keeping you back. It's about so much of unraveling of yourself and unbecoming yourself to become yourself again, because we're the ones marketing and sharing. It's, entrepreneurs, we're giving our gifts, our light. We're not working for somebody else. And so in order to do that, you need to really be able to like be comfortable with yourself. And that takes time, and that's okay. That's like that is it. That is the ultimate gift of being an entrepreneur, in my opinion. And so it takes time, and people, oftentimes get very anxious because they think it should take shorter time because the rest of the world has been telling us that it should take shorter, but it's a lie.
That, and it's also, we see the people who are saying, I'm in a, six-figure business and all that. We don't realize that they've been working on this for 10 years before you stumbled across them. And
Totally.
all of the, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that, and all the programs that didn't launch, or they got no participants and things like that, all the things that they've tried and practiced
Yes.
too, to perfect, their expertise. We don't see all of that necessarily when we see the successful people, or when we come across them. And
Exactly.
in our disposable world where you want to just press a button and get what you're looking for, hard
Yeah.
work is not the promoted value, unfortunately, so much anymore, right? So
Yeah. A
we're
hundred
really
percent.
fighting against a societal wave that doesn't
Yeah.
really, support that hard work is really going to get you where you want to go. Because, I think they say you need like 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert in something. And
Mm.
then, 100, it's certain amounts of time of repeating and redoing before you can even say that you know how to do, and you can do it so well without thinking, or you do it, it comes naturally, or you know how to adjust within. So all of that takes,
Mm.
there's no
Yeah.
shortcuts
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I think even more so, like in terms of like taking time, I think even more so it takes the ability to feel uncomfortable significant
Hmm.
amounts of time, like a lot over and over and over, which most people are not up for the task to do, which is also fine, right? But it does when you're like building your own business, you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable emotions because they're going to come up nonstop. They're like, being an entrepreneur, everything about it is completely opposite of how our brains have been wired to survive. Like we're not supposed to be getting up in front of people constantly every day, sharing our opinions and our views for them to be able to say whatever they want about us. Like that is the opposite of like staying safe in your tribe. Nobody's saying everything. You're good, you're respected. Everyone wants to keep you there so you'll survive, right? We're constantly being asked to do these very scary, very courageous things. And
Mhm.
so you have to like get really like, I'm gonna be feeling fear. If I want to like really grow and really be successful, I'm going to be feeling these feelings. I have to get comfortable with that. I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Well, it's a good reflection of life, right? Because in order to, I guess, maintain successful personal relationships and to grow anyways, you do need to be able to be uncomfortable and face uncomfortable feelings, right? Whether it's stimulated by your business trajectory or not, life still brings that to you, right? And it's
yeah,
about, whether you can handle that kind of stark honesty with yourself and about yourself sometimes in
yeah,
order to find ways to grow through it.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
You talk about vulnerability too. I read So I really like Brene Brown, although I haven't delved super deeply into her. I did
Yeah,
read Daring Greatly, I think, is the one book of
yeah,
hers that I read, and it was so touched me and so profound because it's all about that, right? In order to be vulnerable, it's like directly linked to levels of bravery and
yeah.
courage and ability to withstand that and hold space for that discomfort.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. There was, I forgot whose quote this was, but it was basically, and I forgot the exact words too. So I'll just give it to
that's
you
okay.
in short, but
Paraphrase.
something had to do with like, if you don't have fear, you don't have courage.
Yes,
Something, basically in those realms. Like if you don't feel fear,
that's
you don't
not.
have courage. And I remember reading this like literally, I think the day after October 7th and
Mhm.
October 8th.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, thank you, whoever just sent that my way, because I needed that. And
Mhm.
it's so true. It's like, both of those emotions feel super uncomfortable and awful. They both are like very uncomfortable. But, but you need the fear to get to the courage, and the courage is growth, right? When you are courageously doing something, when you are courageously like, stepping into your own and whatever courageous action you're doing, whether it be like leaving something that's really good, but it's not right for you, whatever it is, that's where the growth is, right? And we are here, and I believe that we're here to really grow to our most evolved selves, which is like changes every moment, every year. And so we can't do that unless courage is present. And fear kind of gives that invitation for kind of courage to walk in the door. And
Well,
yeah,
it's one of the options. It's one of like the positive options and outcomes out of fear. And I think
yeah,
also, if we follow that trail, like courage can lead you to purpose and fulfillment, right? Like by doing something courageous, you also give
yeah.
yourself the opportunity to find fulfillment in what you're doing courageously about, right? And
Mm,
purpose. And, if we want to link it into directly what's going on in Israel with the October 7th, and the ongoing war for the last 3 months, I don't think that there's an Israeli in Israel or a Jew in the world that doesn't feel a sense of fear, kind
yeah,
of lingering and constantly since this has happened.
yeah,
And we're so fortunate to have a beautiful and incredible army full of super brave, courageous men and women who are also for sure feel fear with everything that they're doing. And yet
yeah.
the courage is coming out of that purpose, that sense of purpose that they feel, that they have to accomplish something for the safety of everyone, like everyone's
Oh
secure
yeah.
to change the
Oh
situation
yeah.
in Israel.
100%. Yeah.
So,
I was actually just reading, my niece was just in a few different news articles, actually. She's in a pretty elite unit with the dogs, actually.
oh
And
wow.
she was in a few different articles, and she was saying that she very quickly kind of moves from like the fear is so great that you
Hmm.
don't feel the fear anymore. The fear
Right.
is so overtaking that you don't feel the fear anymore. And that's kind of how you do what that's how she was saying, how she does what she does. How she, goes into these very scary situations because it's like so fearful that you don't feel the fear. The only thing I can relate to, which is so not this, is like when I went skydiving in New Zealand once. And I was so high up. Like when I was I actually paid extra money
You
to go higher in the sky, which viewers out there do not pay extra to do that. I literally could not breathe when they were like dropping me. But I was so high up and couldn't see like anything. I was like so beyond the scary zone that I
right,
wasn't scared,
right.
which obviously is not being a 20-year-old in the Israeli army doing what they're doing right now. But I was like, wow, that's crazy. And she was saying that's how we survive. This is how we're surviving, that we're like so beyond the fear that we don't feel the fear,
Right.
you
Because
know?
I think your mind shifts into a space of, well, I have to do this anyways. So I'm either going to do it to the best of my ability and get out of it and survive
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Because I know it does happen that there is paralysis around fear too, unfortunately, and it does happen even on the battlefield and in life in any
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
I think that happens when we are when we are in the fear of the future, right? Those situations are like survival fear, which are good, right?
Mhm.
That's actually how we literally survived. That's actually how you and I are sitting here and having this podcast. Like that fear was our best friend, right? It's like allowed us
Mhm.
to like find water holes and all those kind of
Right.
things, not be eaten by the tigers and lions and other
Like the
tribes. But
primordial fear. Yeah.
exactly. But I think the fear that a lot of people are experiencing, like, throughout, some of it is immediate, but I
Mm.
think a lot of it is also like, but what if and what happens? And I don't know. And are we going to go? Is the North going to go to war now? All the things that like we don't have those answers. And that can get us very stuck and really keep us in one place, right? We're like the
Yeah.
what ifs
Yep.
is what kind of takes you down that road that is not healthy, is not going to lead us to survival at all. It's
Yeah.
going to completely do the opposite.
Yeah, it is
So,
a good
yeah,
impact. Definitely. When you're stuck in your head with fear, and I mean, I've experienced that in my life as well, where you just get stuck in the rotes of this is so scary, and then you're projecting all these even worse possibilities or what's going to happen, and there are no answers. That's when you, like you said, you get stuck. And so are you seeing that with people around you? Are you seeing that with clients that you're dealing with? Like, what are the, like, let's bring it into your work. Like
yeah,
how do you help your clients manage that kind of fear? Because it's not the rational fear, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's the overthinking fear,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
The mind
totally.
takes it and runs.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll say that I think that it was at a higher level in the first like 2 months.
Sure.
We're now in day, I have a
Yeah.
sticker,
Yeah.
97. So I think that the amount of like future fear was kind of heightened then. It's
Sure.
still definitely for sure, because this has just been such a layered experience. It's just constantly new things are kind of always coming up, and so yeah. So a lot of what I've done, what I've like even I started doing even before, but now have like really picked up, has been a lot of like somatic movement body work
Mm.
that I do for myself and I do with my clients, so that we can kind of drop out of our brains that are like, whatever,
Yeah.
and like into our bodies. And our bodies are the ones that hold the emotion. I mean, our emotions, it's literally like emotions are vibrations in our bodies. And so when we stay here, there's just, you can't process the emotion fully until you drop into your bodies. So that's, I usually begin a lot of, it depends on what client, what we're working on, everything like that. But a lot of times I do a lot of work. We begin with that so we can like then be really clear and focused before we like walk into a session together. I do a lot of work on, either meditations of just remind ourselves like why we are safe right here, right now, and let that be good enough right now, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel safe right now because I'm in my room right now. I feel I'm safe right now. There are no sirens going off right now. I am safe right now because I'm really giving the concrete data
Right.
of why we are safe right now, right here. We don't know what's going to happen. Of course, nobody knows, right? But right now we can. And so let's give the actual concrete data of why do we feel safe right now. So I really try to like help them come back into the present moment and not to linger into the future, for those reasons. And then a lot, I mean, I've again always done this. I'll say, listen, I think I remember when I was giving birth to my first baby, who's 17 years old and way bigger than me, and who could easily beat me up, which is his like favorite thing to do. So, and I remember talking to like every mom on the planet. I was a birth doula, like I was in the whole birthing world, but I was like, I wanted to know, And I remember my friend midwife, my friend doula, there's a friend Anna doula also, and she happened to be mine. She said to me, like, you really don't have to worry about like the birth. You're gonna be yourself, but exemplify. Like you're gonna be like yourself times
Mhm.
like 20, you know? And she was so right. She's like, whatever you are, it's going to be you, but like doing more. And I really feel like this, being in this crisis, or I like to call it like this journey, that we're in right now, like it's been like that. So everything I do, everything I'm doing, I have done and done for my clients. So like really kind of focusing on body stuff and self-care, but doing it even deeper and even grander and even, just going there even further, more
Mhm.
so, so I definitely do, like, I prescribe very specific self-care things for my clients. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, so your assignment for the week is like, go get yourself a manicure
Okay.
and shut your door for 20 minutes and have that cry and, all those kinds of things. So that's been definite, and also really honoring that this is a different time that we're in, and that everything that we have done, right? I think a huge thing that has come up for many of my clients and many people in general have just been like, it's been so hard to work and stay focused on work. And, because it's like our lives have really become pretty massive. And, we're don't just have our families to take care of and our businesses to build, but now we also have a nation to take care of. Like literally right before I got on this call, like a second before, my husband calls me, is like, listen, I mean, God willing, we'll not get there, but Saturday and Shabbat and Sunday is going to be the 99th and then the 100th day that our hostages have been in Gaza. And so there's a big gathering in the hostage square in Tel Aviv for all of us to come together. So we're planning on going. And so my husband he's the vegan rabbi, and so he's organizing. He's been going down to all the bases and feeding the vegan soldiers,
Oh,
and now he wants to feed the vegan soldiers who are in the hospitals. So he's like, can we stop off at the Tel Aviv hospital to deliver a few vegan meals to the soldiers there before it's like we're coordinating there's a whole other thing happening, right? We're kind of
right.
coordinating
It's
that
not as
and our
simple
business.
as
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So that's been a big deal. Like people have been very unfocused, So really trying to like bring ourselves back here and use our business as like a distraction, to what's going on, as a place to focus, a place to feel powerful, because that's the biggest deal. I think in these kind of situations, what happens is that people just like, I can't control anything. And that's where the freak out comes from. There's
yeah.
nothing's in my hands. Things have like something has literally been taken out of my hands and taken away.
Yeah.
But the truth
Yeah.
is, all along, we've never been able to control anything. We just had this make
Yes.
believe idea that our lives were that we were controlling everything, but we're constantly being surrounded by that. No, that's not actually true.
Yeah, I think that's how we can function in our lives, right? Like there has to be a certain dissociation from how little we actually do control, but then it kind of goes in the other direction where we feel like we can and should be able to control everything. And this
Right.
situation for Jews everywhere, for people everywhere, and it not in the same extreme, but I mean, like lives have been destabilized intensively, not just daily lives being disrupted, but like the core foundations of what we think we stand on has been shaken, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why we're all affected by it,
Yeah.
because it's really shaken up all of our feelings of safety, security, our standing in we're just in our own communities with our friends. A
Yeah.
lot of people are losing friends and friend groups entirely, or being attacked by people they work with. So it's entirely destabilizing. And like you said, that's when that feeling of a total loss of control completely leaves you at a loss of concentration, because a part of your mind is always trying to
Yeah.
process and find some kind of stability or security, and it's like grasping at it. And then there's the projecting of fears, so your mind is busy with all of that, and concentration on business is just kind of, you know it's
Yeah.
it's an effort. It's a real effort
Yeah.
that's not easily like, you know tack down, right? Like there are days where I think before, you could sit and work for like 4, 5, 6 hours and be like so on it and you're concentrated. And now it's like the littlest thing can distract you from whatever you sat down to do.
Yeah.
And like I myself, I mean, I'm a list person anyway. So like it's hard for me to actually sit down to do work if I don't have the list ready, because that's
Yeah.
my touchstone. I look
Yeah.
at the list. But now even that, like it's like, okay, I have to physically talk. I have to like intentionally, I mean, talk to myself and say, today, what I'm planning today to do is
Right.
to have my
You have to
podcast.
like work double time to even like produce a
Yeah,
list
just to
of
do, and
what you
then I'm
need
going
to
to
make
record some
happen.
meditate. Don't forget, you're going to do that. Like it's a
Yeah.
real like being on top of yourself around it, and
Yeah. No,
it's hard.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's, exactly. It's like, we have to like, we like during these times. in my opinion, the only place to go really is like releasing what we cannot control
Yeah.
and focusing in what we can control, which I think thankfully this country has done a freaking, I mean, I think is like an example.
Yeah.
I think the entire world, which of course, the world won't, but the world should be watching what's happening here because it really was, the moment October 7th happened, this entire country, we didn't wait around for the government to decide what they're going to be
Right.
doing. We didn't wait around for like any kind of leaders. Everybody went and got things done. And then they expanded. They became like whoever they are,
Mhm.
they really went deep into like who they are and how to show up for the country. It's like,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, really, I could literally, we could have a podcast in itself of like what I have seen happen in this
Yeah.
country since October 7th and how people are showing up and in the most creative, most unbelievable ways, like shining like crazy to like serve this country. And so, yeah, I think it's like when this kind of stuff happens, we have to be like, okay, I can't control this, but what can I control? This is definitely the work I do with my clients. Where can we control? Well, we can control how we think about things. And like, a lot of with the fear, like, okay, we're going this direction. Let's take a look at it and decide and figure out why we're, constantly pulling ourselves. So what if, because there's something, going on there. And then we can like focus on like, okay, yes, but also let's spend some time here.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
what if like what if it's like we're gonna be okay? And what if like stronger thing, like let's spend
Yeah.
time in the what ifs that could be fantastic and fabulous, right?
Right.
And also in giving to our businesses and building these beautiful things. Like the world needs our businesses more than ever. Like we think like I think a lot of my clients, a lot of people I've spoken to are entrepreneurs kind of like after this happened was like, it feels so pointless. Like what, my little
Mhm.
acupuncture business, my little this. And it's like, no, even more so the world needs your light, needs your
Yeah.
gifts, even more so. So it's like really like where can we have control? Let's spend time there and not spend time and then like, but I can't, I don't know what ifs. It's like, let's spend time in the places that we can control. And the moment you move into that space,
Yeah.
then you get into like, you're able to make things happen. You're motivated, you're feeling powerful again. You really move in that direction as opposed to being this like stuck, lost, soul that just feels like they can't do anything. Right. And so that's definitely a place I spend a lot of time with my clients because that significantly shifts the place of where they're like they can't do it. They want to be, they're so upset about what's going on that they can't. We do this as human beings all the time, right? We like create the exact opposite of what we actually want to create. And the
Yes.
moment we take a look at this, we're able to like actually then start to create on purpose what we want to create.
Yes.
So
Yes. And
yeah,
I love that you bring movement into the work with your clients because that's really what I found. And it's, I mean, when you're stuck in that the fear and the paralysis, you're not moving, right? You end up just kind of sitting there, you're thinking, you're not doing what you should be doing. Your body's much more sedentary, right? You're just, and so that doesn't allow anything to flow. But
yeah,
I mean, we found this, and even spoke when I was speaking to family in Israel, they would be like, we've just started, like, we're baking cookies and like cleaning the house, even like whatever, getting out for like just physically moving
yes,
starts to get your blood flowing, loosens up the tension in in your muscles, and takes your mind away from those intensive thoughts and brings you back into the moment. So like
yeah,
that really, ties
yeah.
into somatic exercise, and work being so crucial, I think, maybe for so many people in
Oh
trying to
yeah,
shift out of those. I mean, I know, like, I spent the first month after October 7th sitting on my friend's balcony. Like, we
yeah,
just sat there, the two of us, with our phones, and what's going on today? Oh my
yeah,
God. And we
yes.
did that literally for a month. I was there almost every
Wow.
day and it's
Wow.
also, I mean, the shock, right? And the grief, and
Yeah.
we lost my husband's niece. So there was like grief in
Right.
the household, like, beyond, and it just, but after that,
Wow.
it was like, and I also had those feelings of like, what am I even doing this for my business? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I might as well just forget all of that. And what's the point? And
Yeah. You
then,
start to question everything.
right.
Right.
And then, but like, I think there's a little bit in each of us that also has the self survival, right? Like that will save you because you kind of you can sink and sink and sink and sink and then then you realize that I need to do something else. Like this
Yeah.
is not going to bring me anywhere good. This is
Yeah.
not bringing me any
Yeah.
good.
It's
And
rock
whether it's
bottom.
yeah, and then it's either reaching out for to speak to somebody, to get a coach to kind of keep help you going, or to just kind of do something differently and get up and move, or talk to a friend, and you can slowly shift what you're doing and pull yourself back
Oh
up.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think a huge thing for me that really really saved me was our Thai workers had to leave the
Mhm.
country,
Yeah,
obviously, after
yeah,
what happened. Unfortunately, we still have a few of them who are
yeah,
hostages,
yeah.
which is crazy. And so they left. So our farmers, who also a lot of them
Mm,
had to go into reserves, were not there. And so we were desperate for volunteers on the farms.
right.
So every week I've been going down to farms every Thursday. Today was raining, so the volunteers were not. The volunteers aren't allowed to come on rainy days. I don't know why. I actually love personally
Okay.
farming in the rain,
Yeah.
but so so I've been farming on like all different farms, like some down in close to as a border, some in my
Mhm.
area, some in the center area, whatever, and working with different farmers, growing different fruits and vegetables, and just using my body and being outside. It has been huge, like such a unbelievable, like literally has saved me.
Sure.
Feel like you're first of all volunteering, which also, by the way, I was like reading the other day about how volunteering and giving in that kind of way creates the same kind of like dopamine in your brain, the way like overeating, like a pack of Oreos or
Right.
drinking or any of those kinds of things that people kind of go to feel better. That volunteering does the same kind of thing, gives you the same dopamine hit. So it's like definitely that, feel good kind of feeling with using your body, which is what we're talking about, just like the moving the emotions through and then just being outside and like everything, you know, I think I'm going to share this with you on the Facebook Live that we did, but I have a colleague who once said, and it's like forever changed me. She talks a lot about, when you are feeling like emotionally like all
Mm.
whatever this is, high and
Right.
just, crazy emotions going on, always ask yourself, like, what would my ancestors have
Yeah,
done?
I remember you said that. Yeah.
And, what would they have done? And so we kind of go
Mhm.
back to like the movements, the actions that they would have done. Right? A lot of them were farmers. They definitely had big gardens. They were outside doing those things. They had pets. So you're petting pets, right? And you're
Mhm.
like outdoors and you go to sleep early because when it's dark, you read books, you do gentle things, like real gentle things for the soul. And so this has been, I've definitely myself brought in a lot of more of those practices,
Mm.
because it really calms the central nervous system, you doing the things that my ancestors would have done away from the checking the news and scrolling and posting and right,
The
putting that
worst.
aside and being in
Yeah.
the world in a real kind of way has
Yeah.
been a really big unmovable thing for me and my clients for sure.
Yeah. Well, and the farming, first of all, it's so incredible how the population has turned out for like the foundation of the country.
We always
And
joke, we're like the vegetables in the store, man.
yeah,
They're
I think
like
cucumber, right?
not as, yeah, that and like they're not as nice as they used to be, but they're
Oh,
but they're theirs. That's what
right.
matters. It's like I hope that doesn't, like, and it's funny because the best there's like certain kinds of things like, one day we'll go, we'll be picking cucumbers, and it'll be like it tells a very specific kind of cucumbers to pick, like the bigger ones or small ones, because these are going to like Rummy Levy, and these going into like this store. Like
The
and the
different.
stores order a very specific kind. So like we're
Oh,
learning about
wow,
like
interesting.
how it works, which is a cool thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really amazing. The other thing I wanted to say about that though is that, working with in the garden, like and the farms, like I've read and I feel it myself in my 2 months of summer in Montreal, is when I can get my hands into soil, like when I've spent the day with my hands touching soil and earth, that's also super grounding and super calming for the nervous system.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's
Yeah.
helping to heal a lot of people, including yourself. It's a win-win in terms of, the benefits for people in being able to help with the volunteering. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And especially because it's like this is like, we're fighting for our land, and so it's like such a deep connection to our land, which we have been farming and cultivating. And it's like it's a really a real touch of like of love, real
Yeah.
feels like this deep connection of like being out there with our land, with
Yeah.
our vegetables and our fruit and our soil and our all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more than, I mean, we can get into that in another conversation, but like, I think it's more than land, right? It's our sheer existence at this point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really think that if historically, as Jews were offered land in Uganda, I think, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and we said no because would we have connection to Uganda? But had we said yes and established a state in Uganda, I think we'd be experiencing the same thing. Like, I
A
don't
hundred
think it's
percent.
really about physically where we are. I think it's just about
No, but I mean,
us.
like,
But
when
we
I
can, that's
say
a whole
that,
other.
yes, that
Yeah.
is totally 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, I think there's really people, the Jewish people, like, this is our ancestral
Without
homeland.
question. Absolutely.
And so it's like going through there, there's something about it. I guess it's like visual. It's like I literally feel like when I'm like out in the farms and I'm like picking strawberries, things like, and like it's like the contact with the soil and the actual ground. It feels like like this hug, this like how do I describe it? I'm like I have like a million different metaphors going on in my brain right now, but it just feels like I want to be close to you. I want to be
Mhm.
close to you. And especially because like there's so much, with war and so much damage and so much
Yeah. Mhm.
explosion and destruction, all those kinds of things. It's like I just want to be like it's like your child, like you just want to
Mhm.
be close and you want to be taking care of them, you want to be hugging them and you want to be
Yeah.
close to them, that kind of a thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well, and I mean, living there, I mean, that's one of my dreams, but living there, you're surrounded by our history of like thousands of years of when you're talking about ancestors, it's how many generations of our people were there and doing, like you said, all of the daily life things and carrying on, our religion and our traditions and all of that. So like you're feeling the energy
yeah,
of all of those people who were there before, which is just wonderful.
yeah.
It's such a special feeling. It's hard to describe. I want to bring us back to just like one thing about when you talk about, bringing yourself into the present moment and working with your clients about kind of releasing what we can't control and taking our focus away from the greater events and focusing in on the present moment. I run a support group for for
Hmm.
Jews outside of Israel who
Yeah.
we're also all dealing with
Oh
things,
yeah.
and I have women from around the world in it. It's been such a beautiful experience. Like really, I can't
Mm,
even tell you. It's so incredible. And one of
I
the
love
things
that.
we talk about is exactly that, is that shift that some of, we're trying to make in terms of we're trying to live our lives or at least reclaim our daily lives here, wherever we're living, because it's healthy and because we can't stop our lives entirely. And we can be grateful that we're not living under daily rocket attacks and sirens and disruptions and mortal fear in those senses. But what comes with that, that releasing that focus or kind of trying to get back into your daily life, what comes with that sometimes is feelings of guilt, of I
Mm,
should feel more um
mm,
like I'm paying more attention, or I should feel more,
yeah.
like deeply upset. We're all upset, but we're trying to balance a way of living our lives where we can still function and do our things and
Yeah.
not spend our days like we did in the beginning, just so
Yeah.
intensely stressed. So that's something that we're all working through is
Mm,
really releasing the guilt of
yeah.
trying to get back into our present moment and still
Mm,
always acknowledging, our hearts are always with, and our attention is there. We pay
yeah.
attention, but we're not letting it disrupt our day, our full day anymore, right? So
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
that's something that I've seen come up in the
Interesting.
last like 3-4 weeks as one of the topics, which was really
Mm,
interesting. And it's like another kind of level to work with, you know.
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, what I would say with that is, again, our brains are constantly offering us opinions. I like to say just like they're whispering us opinions like all day
Always
long.
judging.
And it doesn't mean it's true. In
Yeah.
fact, it most of the time is not true. And most of the time, our brains are just trying to, number one, be efficient. And most likely a lot of the thoughts that we're thinking are just things that we've been thinking our whole lives and what's been taught to us and da 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 da. And so it's like, oh, right, I think that's, let me think of it again, no matter what it does for us emotionally or what results we get in our life. And number two, a lot of times it's like based on survival. Like
Mm,
if I'm thinking about, if I'm feeling guilty about it, it means I'm doing something. It's like literally
right.
like when, if you're like not at work and you're like hanging out with your kids or playing with your kids, your brain will kind of go to a
Mm,
place of like thinking about work, right? That what post, a post that you're thinking about or da da da. Part of that comes from excitement potentially, but a part of it also comes from your brain being like, this is like work equals money. I'm not working. That's freaking
mm,
scary. I should at least be thinking about it while I'm playing, Playmobil with my kids so that part of me is kind of working and kind of creating money, right? Kind of
mm,
equates thinking about your work as money, money equals survival, right? I think it's the same idea with like feeling guilty. And if I'm at least I'm feeling guilty, then it means I'm like doing something, right? And
mm,
so I like to kind of focus, it's like, okay, like these are the reasons why you are feeling guilty, but like why would whatever they're having a hard time with, if it's getting back into work or getting back to present moment, why would that be good for the nation? Why
mm.
would that be a good thing for our collective community, right? The Jewish people.
Good
How
question.
does that serve the people, right? So let's think about all those things that we're feeling guilty about not doing. Why are they actually good for us?
Mm,
And really starting to like build up evidence and really strengthen that part of why actually getting back to work, like that means that there'll be more money to donate to these causes, right? And a strong Jewish nation outside of Israel, right, is brings a lot of strength to the Jewish people in Israel. And so kind of like really being like, okay, I'm not gonna take that away from you. For whatever reason, your brain was really wanting to feel guilty about that. Okay. But also, why is it good to do all these kinds of things? And really start to like focus on that because their brains probably haven't because they're so consumed with, yes, I have to feel guilty because it's me like doing something, right? Which we know,
yeah.
does
I
the
think
opposite.
also it's a little bit of like it's self-judgment, right? Like there's an issue of I think it could also be linked to, well, if I'm not even I'm feeling bad, so I don't even really care because then people think I don't care or all think I don't care. So I think
Right.
there's that, but I think you made me think of how especially when my kids were little, I had to learn how to rest. And rest isn't just like lying down, right? Like
Yeah.
it's being able to take your mind away from everything else, like you said, in terms of if you're gonna like take a day off from work from your kids or like as just even taking personal time. And what I've learned about that too is sometimes when you live at a certain level of stress, that
Mm-hmm.
becomes a bit of a normal, a normalcy. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
try to step away from it or remove it for a time, your brain's like, well, wait a minute, that feels different. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. Like you said, like I'm not taking action. I'm not, if I'm not cleaning the house or whatever, doing laundry, then at least I'm thinking about how I'm going to do my
Yeah.
next tasks and I still feel productive and I can still feel like I'm taking action when in reality, like you said, like it's actually counterproductive
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it takes out a lot of energy. But
Yeah. And I
yeah,
think a lot of it's wrapped up into identity, their
yeah,
self-identity. And this is how we do things. And so if we don't do it,
yeah,
oftentimes we like
yeah.
it's easier for us to it's easier for us to be like wrong and but
Mm,
stick with the wrong than like
yeah.
actually change it because then it would be like changing who we are and how we do things and
Mm,
I don't know, that feels really uncomfortable and really unsafe. So it's like kind of easier to be like, I'm wrong. Most people will not realize they're wrong, right? But it's like they can't be wrong. They just have to like, keep on doing what they're doing, even though it's like not serving them at any level, because it's easier to do that in terms of
yeah,
like who they are,
yeah,
you know?
yep,
Yeah.
totally.
No, 100%. I also just, what you all are experiencing there, I was just speaking to a friend who was saying how, um, just how much she's had to like her with her coworkers and her, friends that she's had to like unfriend and all those kinds of
Mm,
things, and how they don't understand how what they're saying, how much it affects her. I think she's based in Florida, like her kids who like walk around with like
mm,
yarmulkes on their heads and things like that, and I was saying to her that on some level it's almost scarier because it's like you all are walking around without an army that's defending you. whereas we have an army that's defending us, so it's
Yeah.
like there is a scarier element on some level. I mean, they're different, they're very different, but I feel for the Jews abroad who are, I mean, I just booked, this happened like literally a couple hours ago, and it's a whole story in itself, but I just booked my first flight in April out of Israel. God willing, it will happen, to London for a workshop with Elizabeth Gilbert, actually my mentor, a 2-day workshop. And I have to say, when I booked, I was like, I was scared. I'm scared
Mm.
of going to London. Like, I am scared
Yeah.
to get off a
Yeah.
plane from Israel and be in London. Like, that is a scary part for me.
Yeah.
And so I feel for the Jews abroad who are, who is scary right now to be a Jew that
Yes.
doesn't live in Israel.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes you kind of look over your shoulder a little bit extra. I mean, I'm fortunate I live in a very, very densely Jewishly populated neighborhood. So
Yeah.
most people I would encounter, I can pretty much guarantee are fellow Jews.
Right.
But anytime I'll venture out of that, and
Yeah.
I wear my Magen David, I wear my Star of David, and like any interaction, I'm always like, are you looking at it? Do you see it? What do you think about it? Are you
Right.
going to react to me? Like that is a constant running through
Yeah.
my head dialogue, that goes when I'm out because and
Yeah.
that's the minimal. I mean, I know, I mean, between the protests and I mean, Canadian police gave coffee to the Gaza protesters. I mean, like there's a whole like there's
Wow.
so much against us, we're, that
Mm.
is so yeah, it makes you nervous, and
Are
it's
you in Montreal? Did you say you're in
I'm in
Montreal?
Montreal. Yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was in
Wow.
Toronto that they had that news article. The police were bringing coffee to the pro Gaza protesters.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
okay, well,
Wow. Oh
but
my
it's
goodness.
Canada, sadly. It's not
Wow.
not the Canada I grew up in.
Yeah. Oh,
My
that's
grand
intense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely was. When I booked these tickets, my first thought was, if there's like a time where and this is like, I don't know if, are you familiar with Elizabeth Gilbert and her community?
No, no.
No. Okay. So she's like, I love her. And she's all love. She's like literally like a love monk, she's like just
Mm,
love. But my brain went to, like, if it's a go around to like say your name and where you're from, I
mm,
was like thinking, like, would I say I'm from Israel? I don't know. It feels
mm.
scary to me just to be outside of Israel and sharing that right now,
Yeah,
like, and then and the next thought was like, that is so freaking messed up. And I was
yeah.
having this whole conversation in my head, like, what do you proudly say where you're from? I was like having this whole
Yep.
conversation, but it comes up when you're not here, and it tells you even more so why we need this, this is
Why we
like,
need
we
Israel.
need our country. We need
Yeah,
our country, you
yeah.
know. But
And that brings us back to our discussion around fear and courage.
there
Right?
you go.
It's
Always fear and
definitely that.
courage lurking around.
Fear greatly. That's the best phrase. I love that one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love talking to you tomorrow. I can keep this going for like
Yeah.
another 2 hours.
Totally. A
But I
hundred
think,
percent.
yeah, we need to do this more often. I would love to maybe have you back on the podcast. And anyways, just stay in touch with you. It would be lovely.
A
And go,
hundred percent.
we'll get to Israel sometime in this year would be nice if we can get there. And I'll do my
Be
best to
great.
get to have a coffee with you. It would be great.
It'd be
So
great.
thank
I
you
love
so
that.
much for this conversation. I think we covered so many topics and really were able to tie it all in really beautifully. Can you please share with our audience how they can find you, how they can work with you, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I think the best way for viewers to is it called viewers for podcasts? What are they
they
called?
can be because it's released on video and audio.
Okay.
So
Okay.
viewers and listeners,
Viewers or listeners, that's what it is, listeners. On my website. So it's Tamar, Tamar, coaching.com. And then you can get my Instagram there, and you can get my Facebook there, and you can get my TikTok, which I have not gone on since the war started
Mhm.
because everything I hear is insane over there. So but Instagram is really where I hang. But you can always contact me also. My email that is on my website. And I happen to send a lot of beautiful love letters to my people who are on my email list, at least, once a week, twice a week, little spurts of inspiration and love and thoughts, and people love them. So if you want to get on that, you can also find that on my website as well. So that's
Amazing.
it. All right.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much for today. To our viewers and listeners, you can find us Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts. Give us a like and a share or a review, and go look up Tamar Field-Gersh on all of her platforms. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.